following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Welcome into a Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yao, joined as always by MAURICE Patton, and we are so glad to have you with us here as we are getting ready for the quarterfinals of high school football playoff action and so much more. Today is Prep Thursday, but we've got a lot to get into today. From preps to pros, we've got you covered. Every team that you care about, I promise. We're going to talk a little bit about it, even if it's just a score from last night or tonight's schedule. We'll get to it, I promise you. But before we do anything else, Mo, how are you?
I'm all right, man. Kind of dreading tomorrow night. It's not going to be fun outside, and for whatever reason, volunteered to cover a football game, even though all of our teams are out of it. So that
Where are you headed?
Nice.
You going to Nolensville Page?
I'm going to Nolensville Page.
Well,
yeah,
it'll be worth it. It'll be worth covering.
Yeah, remind me of that around 8 o'clock.
Yeah, or later.
Yeah.
Around 11 o'clock when you're finishing up that story. It's like, man, I could have been asleep.
Well, when I'm thawing out still, the Timberlands are probably going to make an appearance tomorrow evening. So
yeah, I wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be against it. I can tell you it's going to be a cold evening across the state of Tennessee, and that's not make a difference.
Not looking forward to it. Kind of wonder what I was thinking when I made myself available for that. But like you said, should be a pretty good should be a pretty good football game, as are most of them, I think, that are on tap for tomorrow night. So should be a lot of fun.
No question. We'll get into that Nolensville Page game a little bit later, as Nolensville head coach Paul Derrick is set to join us. He'll join the show in about 12 minutes, so looking forward to that. And looking forward to getting into the Titans-Packers game tonight, as well as 10 of the biggest games around the mid-state. We'll also perhaps look around the rest of the state and just see what else is out there. As we talked with Heather Williams yesterday, a lot of great games in the eastern side of Tennessee. So it's going to be a great week of high school football. And tonight should be a good one between the Titans and the Packers. Speaking of cold, it's going to be like 17 degrees. So
yeah, my understanding is it's snowing in Appleton, which is about 20 minutes out of Green Bay, and I think that's where most everybody stays, including Jody and her son, who flew up last night for the game. So kind of glad I skipped that trip.
Yeah, I can understand. I can understand. Well, we're going to get into all of that and more, but before we do anything else, Mo, let's go ahead and give you yesterday's results, today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
In girls high school basketball action on Wednesday night, Centennial defeated Spring Hill 40-34. In women's basketball action, it was Fisk with a 64-54 overtime win against Lemoyne Owen. Also, Trevecca defeated Alabama Huntsville 75-59 despite 16 points from former Richland standout Jesse Jennings. Over at the Glass House, MTSU with an 80-62 win over Belmont in women's basketball action. And in junior college play, Volunteer State with a 66-55 win over host Columbia State. Men's basketball action last night, UT bounced back from their loss to Colorado at Bridgestone with an 81-50 win over Florida Gulf Coast. Lemoyne Owen downs Fisk 76-72, and Columbia State's men with a 95-58 win over Volunteer State.
High school basketball action tonight. These are girls matchups followed by boys, best I can tell. Chattanooga School of Arts and Sciences will be at Smyrna at 4:30. Stewart County is at Clarksville Christian. That doubleheader starts at 6. The rest of these, I believe, start at 6. It's Father Ryan at Dixon County. Ezo Harding hosting Grace Franklin. And Siegel goes to Gallatin. Pope Prep is at Greenbrier, while Friendship Christian heads to Hendersonville. Independence at home against Laverne, while Lawrence County will be at home hosting Rogers of Alabama. Clarksville Academy goes to Lebanon. Antioch is at Lighthouse Christian of Antioch. And Providence Christian goes to Lipscomb Academy.
Also at 6, Brentwood is at Middle Tennessee Christian. Page goes to Mount Juliet. Nashville Christian hosts for Harpeth Hall. That's a girls only game. Fairview is at Nolensville.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Fairview is at Nolensville. Ravenwood goes to Rockvale. St. Cecilia hosts Donaldson Christian. That is also a girls only game. Summertown is at Wayne County. Portland goes to White House Heritage. And Richland goes south of the border to Elkmont of Alabama.
John Overton's boys will be playing at Nashville Christian, and DCA will not be playing a boys game that I'm aware of.
Right.
So, but yes, Nashville Christian boys are playing at home tonight. They're just not playing against Harpeth Hall because that would be awkward.
No, that would be, yeah.
In women's college basketball tonight, Cumberland is at Lindsey Wilson. That's a 5:30 start. Campbellsville is at UT Southern. Trevecca goes to Tennessee Tech, and Vanderbilt hosting Austin P at 6:30 on SEC Network Plus. Men's basketball action: Austin P is at South Florida at 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Also on ESPN Plus, Tennessee State's at Southern Illinois. That's a 7 o'clock tip. At 7:30, it is Cumberland's boys or men at Lindsey Wilson, and UT Southern men as well against Campbellsville.
NFL action tonight, as we mentioned, 7:15 kickoff on Amazon Prime. The Titans are at Lambeau Field against the Packers. In NHL action, the Predators are at home for a 7 o'clock puck drop against the New York Islanders. Again, that's at 7 o'clock. It's on Valley Sports South if you want to watch it. College football tonight. SMU is at Tulane. That's a 6:30 kick on ESPN. And in G League action, a little G League, minor league basketball now, huh, Chris?
Well, we didn't have the Memphis Grizzlies, so I figure why not?
Okay. The Memphis Hustle plays at the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. That's a 7 o'clock start on ESPN Plus. Also, Chris, we missed Maction last night.
We did.
Yeah. Mid-America Conference action on the football field. Eastern Michigan with a 31-24 win over Kent State. Miami defeated Northern Illinois 29-23, and Western Michigan with a 12-10 victory over Central Michigan in the snow. There's a interesting clip out there on that one. So little action last night.
That was a heck of a that Western Central thing was just like you couldn't see the hash marks, you couldn't see the numbers. You didn't. I mean, how do you keep stats in that?
Better them than us.
I mean, you literally can't. I don't. They didn't even they did nothing to try and.
No, they had the 10 yards marked off, I think, but that was about it. At any rate, that is your rundown.
Top story today is actually some Braves chatter, Mo. As it was announced earlier today that the Atlanta Braves organization, or some part of the Braves that includes the Battery and includes a lot of the business ventures, not just the team. It's not a Green Bay Packers style, but the Braves and their immediate entities will be going public and be traded as a stock.
So should we buy stock as Main Street Sports today, or are we going to buy individual stock, Chris? Because I would love to be able, obviously, to say I own a piece of the Atlanta Braves. So.
Right. It would be pretty cool. I think especially with the Battery and all that goes with it, it's probably pretty valuable, and I would be interested to see. I'll be interested to see what it starts at, and I mean, if it's anywhere close to something that I can trade on Robinhood, I'll probably buy some.
It's interesting. I'm not even going to sit here and try to tell you I understand exactly what it means, but it's definitely a development worth knowing about, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing that we as fans of the Atlanta Braves can take from this is that basically Liberty Media said this is a valuable product, and we believe it's valuable enough to be its own entity. And so, you know, by splitting it off, I think it just proves that they are planning to do a lot more spending than they have since they bought the Braves.
Well, that's going to make this fan base particularly happy here in the next few weeks, I guess, with the shortstop situation being what it is right now.
Well, you know, interesting, because I wanted to get into that a little bit. And I don't know in any way, shape, form, or fashion what Alex Anthopoulos and Dansby Swanson are talking about. But essentially, you know, Ken Rosenthal says the Braves are not going to sign a free agent that's not Dansby Swanson. It's Dansby or it's Vaughn Grissom.
Or Orlando Arcia. Well, you know, I've seen a lot on Twitter about how upset the fan base is going to be with that. One, I don't know that that's true. Two, if they're not going to sign a shortstop, then they're going to sign a left fielder and a pitcher, I would think, which would hopefully appease said fan base. But three, I don't know that I necessarily have an issue with the idea of them not signing a shortstop that's not Dansby Swanson. I mean, they have done a pretty good job here of late of mixing in young talent. And we saw a lot of Vaughn Grissom, you know, with Ozzie Albies out last year, and he played well early. He hit a rough spot. He was a rookie who had very limited experience above the Class Single A level. He's going to be able to take that and learn and get better this year. And I mean, we got to break these guys in at some point.
Yes, I think. Well, here's the thing. I agree that if it's not Dansby, I don't think it's necessarily needs to be anybody else. I think there are enough really good players in the organization currently to take that role over. That being said, I do think Dansby is the best option because he does mask a lot of the defensive issues that we've seen from, you know, that left side of the infield over the past few years.
I think he's particularly the best option in that scenario. If it's not Dansby, then it's not going to be another current major league shortstop. Under those conditions, I think Dansby is the best option, but I honestly do not think Vaughn Grissom is a bad plan B.
I don't, well, you know, with what we've seen, you know, with Ron Washington working with him today, I don't know that the Braves see him as the opening day option. Maybe he is. I don't know. We just have to watch him through spring training, I'm sure. Personally, I'm just hoping that even though I would love to get out of the 162 mentality, at this point, it's got to be Dansby Swanson or it's no, you know, it's a problem. So
why is it a problem? Why is it a problem if we upgrade offensively in left field? And I say we because I'm probably going to buy a share of the Atlanta Braves.
There you go.
And
say that
if we get another starting pitcher, I mean,
and again,
and let me ask you this: what if Dansby Swanson comes back and doesn't replicate his offensive numbers for the past couple of years?
I still think his defensive WAR is so high basically because nobody in the Braves organization or any member of the Braves media believes that Austin Riley's very good at third base.
I don't get that.
Well, I'm
mean,
just telling you what.
I don't think he's bad at third base. I mean, I
think Dansby Swanson has been taking a lot off of him and letting him play the line the way that he plays it. He just doesn't have the range is the problem. Dansby has the range, whereas Austin doesn't. Now, I'm not saying Austin's a bad fielder. When the ball's hit near him, he's going to get it. He makes some fantastic plays, but that's the knock on Austin is that he doesn't have the range to be able to take care of, of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that being said, you need somebody who can give you that. Now, can Vaughn Grissom? Absolutely. Athletically, Vaughn Grissom's going to be as good as anybody. The difference is you still got to make a lot of weird plays at shortstop, and you got to be a shortstop to do it. You really can't just be a middle infielder or something of the sort.
Right.
You really got to be a shortstop. And this team does it. To me, I feel like this team needs to be as good as it can be at every position over the next few years, because this is a window you can't miss over the next 5 to 7 years. You just can't miss it.
Yeah.
You got to win.
But I've not heard a number. I've not seen a number. I don't know a number, but
it ain't going to be north of 22.
I don't even know that Dansby wants to be back.
At this point, I think it would be weird of him to not want to be, being that he's, from the area. Well, I'm just, it would be weird, but also, with the way that everything went down with Freddie last year, I think it very well could be that he blames the Braves organization rather than he blames Casey Close, and which would make sense considering that Casey is
his agent.
So, who knows? I think if the Dodgers re-sign Trey Turner, he wants to be a Brave a lot more than he did before they signed Trey Turner. And I think that's what's going to be weird is, Trey Turner may also be caught in the middle of this.
I think Trey Turner is going to be more expensive than Dansby.
Sure, which is why I think the Dodgers are courting Dansby. I think they feel like they can get a guy who is comparable for a lower cost.
Mm-hmm.
And Trey Turner is kind of stuck in the middle of, well, what about me?
Yeah,
and the Dodgers could be holding out, and if Trey Turner ends up deciding to play somewhere else to take matters into his own hands, then Dansby's number, if he's going to go to the Dodgers, goes way up because they're going to have to do something.
Meanwhile, Carlos Correa is hanging out there, and he might be more expensive than either of those guys.
He will be more expensive than either of those guys. The problem is he's definitely not going to be in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Who
is the fourth shortstop?
Xander Bogaerts from Boston, and would be a great option. I would love to have, Bogaerts. I did see an interesting, I did see an interesting, I don't know if it was on Braves Bean Eater or something like that, but Jazz Chisholm potentially, even though he's a second baseman.
Well, he's certainly athletic enough to do it, but again,
but if you've got Vaughn Grissom, I don't know why you.
Yeah, if you're going to go get somebody who's not a shortstop, I don't know why you wouldn't just go with the shortstop you have.
Exactly. I'm with you. I'm with you. So that's why I think it's Dansby and or nobody. I really do. I don't think they're going to pay north of 22. And if they can't get Dansby for 22, then Vaughn Grissom or Orlando RCA it is. We traded for RCF for this particular reason, did we not?
And let's roll. I mean,
there you
go. Let's try to get a everyday stick in left field and let's go, man. I mean,
I'm with you.
I just don't think Vaughn Grissom over an entire season is going to be a liability at shortstop. I mean, maybe he's not going to be Dansby. Hell, maybe he will be.
There you go. Maybe maybe his offensive WAR is so much better than Dansby's that it works out. You never know. Anyway.
I mean, we've a lot of people were upset with Matt Olson. Yeah, I think it worked out. I think it's gonna work out. In AA we trust.
Absolutely. That's going on a shirt. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, well, let's we finally have Coach Derrick on after technical difficulties through the Williamson County school system, which we all know is an issue.
And we forget about that when we reach out to Williamson County coaches. But yeah, gotta love WCS. Yeah.
So we'll take a break. When we come back, Paul Derrick talks a little high school football. Nolensville Page coming up this weekend. So stick around. We'll be right back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yalamo Patton here on this Prep Thursday edition, getting you ready for high school football quarterfinal action in Division I and semifinals Division II, right, Mo?
Correct.
All right, just making sure.
Yes.
Still haven't figured it out. Been here like 5 years.
Well, you've not had to deal a whole lot with D2, so
that's true.
It makes sense.
But we are getting ready for Coach's Corner. But first, we need to hand out a little hardware, Mo, and we go to the Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Southern Middle Tennessee Athlete of the Week and also Main Street Preps Football Player of the Week.
We do, and they are one and the same. Kevin Cooper of Mount Pleasant got it done on both sides of the ball in the Tigers' 18-13 loss to Riverside. In in last week's second round. Had a 30-yard interception return, forced a fumble, had 8 total tackles, and had 5 catches for 53 yards in that tough loss for Mount Pleasant to end their season at 9-2. So the junior, one of a number of juniors that they'll have, theoretically coming back next fall. So Mount Pleasant going to be a team to watch again next year behind Kevin Cooper and those guys, and Cooper, the Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint and the Main Street Preps Player of the Week, MTBJ Athlete of the Week, and the Main Street Preps Player of the Week this week. So congratulations to him.
Now, without further ado, we go to Coach's Corner, presented by From the Heart Cafe. From the Heart Cafe out in Chapel Hill. Some of the best home cooking and catering that you can ask for in and around Southern Middle Tennessee. Make sure to call Renee and the fine folks at From the Heart for your next catering event. And now we go to Nolensville head coach Paul Derrick. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Coach, I'm not sure if you can see us or not, but we can see you, and hands down, you have the best backdrop of the three of us.
Well, we actually there's a power outage here in town, and I'm in the weight room because it's one of the only places with lights on in the school right now. So.
Oh, well, congratulations there. Yeah. Well, it's certainly, I told Will Hester when Nolensville opened up, you guys have one of the best high school logos ever anywhere. Whoever put that together from the start did a great job, and it's a great look. And as Chris said, we're really happy to have you on as you guys get ready for your matchup tomorrow with Page, a rematch of Region 6-5A, a game that you guys won during the regular season. And what does that mean going into the second matchup here?
Well, I think we got, two teams that are very familiar with each other. This will be our fourth time playing those guys in 2 years. So if anything for us, from our standpoint, I think the first game just maybe gave us some confidence. We'd been 0-2 against them in the last year, and then, even 0-4 before. But I think it just gave us the confidence that we could beat them, and then to win the game the way that we did in overtime. Our kids showed a lot of guts and a lot of heart, and I'm sure that this will be a tough game on tomorrow night. So we're looking forward to a challenge, and looking forward to another really good game. The first one, the atmosphere was one of the best I've ever been a part of. It was definitely the biggest crowd that we've had here at Nolensville, and we're looking for a good turnout again tomorrow night.
Coach, when you think about playing this team for the fourth time in county rival, it just goes to prove the toughness of this region and how tough it's been over the last few years. It feels like every year somebody goes on the road and gets a win in this region. Now, it didn't happen this year, but it still proves that, each and every time out, you guys have got to be ready to play a really good football team 10 weeks out of the year, and it doesn't stop in the playoffs. And that has to, prepare you for moments like this.
Yeah, I think it does. I think, when you're playing a tough region and you're scheduling those non-region games, you kind of want to have some balance, but you definitely want to have some teams on there that are going to prepare you for the playoffs. And, I think we played a pretty good schedule this year, and our kids have shown that they can play good football. And when we've been tested, we've been able to answer those calls. And, I think that our schedule has kind of maybe prepared us for the playoffs. And, again, we're looking forward to tomorrow night, and we know it's going to be a tough game. Paige is very familiar with us. We're very familiar with them. There's not a whole lot of secrets between the two teams. So it's going to come down to executing at a high level, and whichever team executes the best and whichever team takes care of the ball, and then we'll probably win the football game.
Paul Derrick, football coach at Nolensville, joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by From the Heart Cafe over in Chapel Hill. Coach, you guys won that game against Page back on October 7th, 27-21, as you said, in overtime. And Since then, you've kind of been throwing some points up, including last week's 56-36 win over White County and opening the postseason with that 41-3 win over Wilson Central. Offensively, you've kind of got the triplets with Kobe Walton, your Georgia Southern commits, Samson Johnson, and then Chance Fitzgerald at wideout. Gotta like the way all three of those guys are playing right now, I would think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Our last regular season game against Franklin County, we kind of struggled offensively, so I think that may have been kind of a wake-up call for us a little bit. But since then, as we've been able to score some points, and Kobe's done a great job all year of distributing the football to the guys we have on that side of the ball. You mentioned Sampson and Chance, but you also got a Dylan Northcutt, Harper. So Kobe's doing a really good job making good decisions, taking what when he gets the ball to those guys, they make plays for him. So we're gonna need to stay on the pace we've been on the last couple of weeks and continue to play good football on that side of the ball.
Is there anything in particular? Obviously, as you said, you guys are really familiar with Paige. Paige is really familiar with you. From a personnel standpoint, who concerns you over there?
Well, I think the quarterback's really good. They do a lot of stuff with him as far as he can throw it, he can run it. They do some RPO stuff with him. So having to defend him is a challenge. And they got a really good group of wide receivers that seems like they catch everything that's thrown to them. And they're really good in the run game. And then defensively, you look at them, and they're, the front seven is one of the best ones that we've seen all year. And then they're solid on the back end. So in the first matchup, they did a good job of, taking some things away and trying to make us, really march the football down the field or put drives together. So, and then on defensive side of the ball, you got the Hazard kid who's wreaks havoc over there. So we got to make sure we know where he's lined up at all times. But yeah, they're a solid football team. With some really good players on both sides of the ball. But I think, the quarterback makes them go on offense, and then the Hazard kid makes them go on defense.
Now for you guys, obviously you got some great players on the offensive side, but defensively, obviously last week's basically game-sealing interception by Derrick Burrows, that was just improbable, if not impossible, just to seal that win against White County was pretty impressive. And he was rewarded today with a 3-star ranking on 24/7 Sports. And you've got a couple of guys who are receiving quite a bit of attention on the defensive side of the football. And that's what you really feel like. It's all about Jimmy's and Joe's, right? But this team defensively is as good as anybody in 5A, you have to feel like, because you got some guys over there.
Yeah, we do have some good players. You mentioned Derrick Burrows and then Taylor Wine, and but we've got some I won't call them role players, but maybe some guys that don't get the attention that Taylor or Derrick does. But what I'm most proud of is they've just as a group they bought into playing team defense, and that's what you got to do if you want to be good on defense. You got to buy into doing your job and buy into just doing your role, not trying to do too much and not trying to worry about if the guy next to you is going to do his job. Just trusting each other, and that's what we've done all year. We've been able to trust each other on that side of the ball and understand team defense and where everybody fits. But yeah, no question that good players definitely help. But I think the team defense concept that they bought into is really what's kind of taken our game to the next level on that side of the ball.
I'm looking forward to it for sure. It's going to be a good football game tomorrow.
Coach, want to ask you before we let you go. 2016, Nolensville played one football game. 2017 was their first full season. Last year was y'all's first year at the Class 5A level after having played in 4A prior to that, and made a deep run, I think, 3 years ago. But what's been the key to you guys being able to be successful in such a short period of time at such a high level?
Well, number one, we got good kids. We got coachable kids. We got kids that work hard, that want to do the things that you got to do to be successful. And then I have an amazing coaching staff. A bunch of really good men, really good football coaches, smart football coaches. As the head coach, you're only as good as your players and your staff. And I feel like those two things, we have those in place. And then from a support standpoint, our administration, our athletic director does a tremendous job of supporting not only football, but all of our coaches. And then Nolensville, the community support as well. And it's kind of still got that small town feel to it where, everybody likes to come out and come to the game on Friday night. So I think those three things, I think, having good players, good kids, having a really good assistant coaches, and then support from the admin and community.
Paul Derrick here on From the Heart, Coach's Corner, presented by From the Heart Cafe out in Chapel Hill. It's going to be a great football game. You guys have seen this movie. You've seen it play out, but you certainly want to see the same ending you saw earlier this year, and that's with the Knights on top. But we'll be keeping an eye on it, and one of us very closely from the sideline. So we appreciate.
And I've got some intel from a member of one of those good men on your staff, Andrew Tomlinson, tells me that y'all are going to have like 4 propane heaters on the sideline. So that may have swayed where I'm going to be working from tomorrow night, Coach, if there's any truth to that.
Yeah, well, they hadn't got it yet, but that's the plan. We're supposed to have some heater over there to keep our guys warm. Get over there and nestle up next to one.
There we go. There we go. Coach, we appreciate it, man. Good luck to y'all tomorrow night.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, never a dull moment on the sidelines at Nolensville. I've been there a few times, and it's always fun. It's always a good trip over there. Plenty of good food options.
Well, and I will tell you what, man, he spoke to, the community support. I mentioned that they played one game in 2016. I actually went out there for that game. It was against Scott Stidham's South Gibson team, actually. But Nolensville used to have a school, and I think it was consolidated, and a lot of those kids wound up at Page, and some of them at maybe Brentwood. But again, the community support out there for football has been fantastic from the very start. And I mean, they've really embraced the football program and the athletic program as a whole out there. And I'm interested to get back out there. I was over there, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago when Columbia Central played over there, but this will be the first time, obviously, that I've been over there for a postseason game. And I can imagine with as much on the line and against a Page team that they have battled with, like he said, 4 times now over the past 2 years, it's going to be pretty electric, even as cold as it's going to be. So looking forward to that.
It'll be more electric, the less cold.
There you go. I like that. Yeah.
So get out there and do some screaming, do some shouting, do some crazy antics, and you'll be a lot warmer. I promise.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll leave the crazy antics to somebody else, but it should be a good ball game.
You'll have a heater to deal with, so others will not. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, Titans Packers tonight should be fun, so stick around. Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back after this.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, 3-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
Other guy in Wham married the best looking girl, Bananarama. So other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton coming to you live and in person. Tonight, the Titans play the Green Bay Packers, and there's a lot of questions about this Green Bay team, and I'm really curious to get your thoughts on it, Mo, because the last time the Titans played Green Bay in the cold, there was a lot of talk of you don't want to have to run up against Derrick Henry and get hit by that freight train in this cold of weather, and then he went out there and ran for like 30-something yards.
Yeah, the freight train didn't really get going, and maybe the cold impacted him more than it did those that he was supposed to be working on. So, and he's I think working against that though is the fact that he had a tough game against Denver this past weekend, and I'm just not sure that he's going to struggle back-to-back weeks, even though it's not a week, it's 4 days. So, but clearly that will be a big factor in this ball game is whether or not they're able to establish Derrick Henry in the run game.
Well, if they can't, it would be really, really bad, because the only team that the Packers have not given up 100 yards to on the ground this year is the league worst Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's that.
There is that. It's interesting to know.
They give up a lot of yards on the ground. They've given up almost 1,300 total yards, 4.9 a carry is what they're giving up on defense. And you would think, even without Ben Jones tonight, who isn't on the injured list, or he's on the injury report, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Even without you got to feel like this team not only should be able to establish the run, but kind of has to.
Mm-hmm.
And you really want to do it with Derrick Henry. You don't want to rely on Hilliard or anybody else. But then again, 3rd and 3, you take Derrick Henry out and you run Hilliard up the middle. So maybe you do want to rely on Hilliard if you're Todd Downing. I don't know.
I mean, if you're going to run the ball, I don't know why you would run it with someone other than Derrick Henry. But, I'm not an NFL offensive coordinator, and I'm not on the short list of coordinators who would make good head coaches. And I don't know how Todd Downing is either, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah, I look, Todd Downing has been on a bunch of lists today of top top coaches.
He's been on a lot of lists.
Yeah. He's been on some good ones and some bad ones. But somebody threw out there that he was on the kind of the short list of up and coming young coaches that would be on the head coaching lists of a lot of teams. And I, for one, think he should definitely be the Colts head coach. I mean, he should definitely be the next head coach of the Indianapolis Colts for sure.
This has shades of back in the mid-90s when Rick Pitino at Kentucky was lobbying for Tennessee to not fire Wade Houston.
I mean, that's exactly what this is. I mean, we'll do anything to get rid of him, and you guys can have him.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, this is kind of a big game for the Titans, and for a couple of reasons. One, because 6-4 is a lot different than 7-3. I mean, a lot different.
You said there would be no math.
Well, and the reason I say that is because 7-3 puts you, you're right up there with the Ravens, the Dolphins, who are currently 7-3. Of course, obviously they've got both of those teams will be playing again this week, but you're trying to get to a three seed maybe in the playoffs instead of being the 4, and you never want to be the 4 if you can help it.
Right.
So it really is a big deal for playoff seeding purposes, and you're playing a team that you should beat. I mean, the fact is that the Packers are just not very good right now.
They're not very good right now, and they somehow pulled out a win this past weekend against Dallas after trailing 28-14, which probably speaks more to the fact that Dallas isn't very good either. But at any rate, they're not good.
This team lost to the Lions 2 weeks ago.
They're not good.
You got to figure out a way to win this game. I don't care if it's on the road. I don't care if it's 17 degrees. I don't care if it's snowing. You got to figure out a way.
And I don't care that Ben Jones and whoever and Randy Bullock and all these other guys aren't playing, which, I mean, I don't think you're going to see the Titans use that as any kind of a factor. I mean, they have embraced the next man up concept unlike anybody, in NFL history. I mean, you saw it last year. So,
yeah, but my goodness, man, Bud Dupree, Ben Jones, obviously, I guess the good thing is that maybe Danico Autry is going to be back. He was full participation on Tuesday and Wednesday. David Long appears to be okay. I was really concerned about him after his injury on Sunday. I thought it was a leg. It turned out to be his neck. But I guess he got hit in the head and couldn't figure out where the pain was. I don't know.
My neck, my leg, my neck and my leg.
I want $150,000.
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, this team has got a ton of folks, dealing with injuries, but there are a lot of folks who are going to be back too. In the defensive backfield, Jeffrey Simmons is questionable. He didn't participate yesterday, but he was limited on Tuesday, so we'll see if he plays. I don't know that that's going to matter because
I don't know. I think Jeff Simmons matters.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that he doesn't matter. Obviously, what I'm saying is that I don't necessarily know that we need Jeffrey Simmons. Now, would we love to have him? Sure.
And
but I don't think you need him to beat this team.
And in that vein, I would not disagree with you because that defensive line, the way they played against Denver without Jeff Simmons might indicate to you that you are on the right track.
Amani Hooker, who was a full participation on Monday, limited on Tuesday and Wednesday and ruled out for today, but you have to feel like he's probably back next week after a long rest.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the key things long-term for this team, that once you get past today, it's kind of a mini bye this weekend.
And we know what he does on mini buys.
On long rest. Yeah. So
I'll take it. Take it every time.
Who do they have next?
The Titans?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I wish you hadn't asked me. It's going to be the Bengals.
Here.
Yes.
Yeah, so anybody that's down on defense really needs to some extra healing powers here over the next bit, because
especially those DBs, Elijah Molden, Amani Hooker, et cetera.
Because Joey B is coming to town.
And if we just make him feel the same hurt that he felt last year, and hopefully the offense will be better.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Eagles, who recently just lost their first game.
Yeah, and there were some folks out there predicting that the Titans were going to be their first loss. I don't know what it is that they know or think they knew necessarily, but they certainly won't be their first loss, but they could be their next loss.
Yeah.
You can't be first, but you can be next.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers has not played well. We've talked about this a couple of times. If Aaron Rodgers was going to have a game where he could kind of get things right, I feel like against this defensive backfield, it might be the Titans that can do that. So if you're a Titans fan, you got to be worried about Aaron Rodgers, I would think.
You have to be concerned about Aaron Rodgers just because of the long history of his career. He's not been bad often. And so when he's been, bad the way he has been this year, you have to be concerned about, him snapping out of it against you. So
both of their tackles are questionable, by the way. Both offensive tackles are questionable.
Who are those tackles, by the way?
David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins.
Okay. The reason I ask is because he's no longer there. Former Ravenwood standout Lucas Patrick was with the Packers for a pretty good while. Apparently he's now with the Bears. De Beers. He's also a guard. But I had lost track of him, and so I did not know if he was up there or not. He's on IR with the Bears right now, as a quick Google search unearths. So
there you go.
So yeah. So I don't mind so much rooting against the Packers since we don't have any local ties. Yeah.
Well, you have a local tie, but
I'll deal with that tomorrow.
Hey, real quick, did you happen to see this Rich Eisen clip going around with Jalen Hyatt? So Rich Eisen had Jalen Hyatt on his show ahead of Tennessee, South Carolina, because for those of you who don't know, Jalen Hyatt played his high school football in the shadows of Williams-Brice.
Really? He's from Columbia?
He is.
I knew it was from South Carolina. I didn't realize he was from Columbia.
No, played in the shadows of Williams-Brice Stadium and was not offered a football scholarship by the University of South Carolina.
Now, that wasn't Beamer, though, was it?
It was not, but still.
Okay.
Right. And I don't know if everybody's seen the clip from Shane Beamer after the Georgia State win, saying that there's been some SEC teams who didn't have the same feeling after playing these guys.
I do remember that.
So all I'm saying is the touchdown that was scored with under a minute to go against Missouri this week may not be with the second team.
No, well, I will tell you this. Shane did try to smooth some things over with UT.
I bet he did.
He was quite complimentary of Hendon Hooker and said, as a Virginia Tech alumnus, I'm really disappointed he's not still there. So
I can understand that. He doesn't play Virginia Tech.
Right. So he's trying, but apparently ain't no smoothing over with Jalen.
No. So Jalen basically said, I'm looking forward to this. This is gonna be fun, blah, blah, blah. And Rich asked him if his teammates knew of, the situation with him not being offered by South Carolina. And he said, oh, they all know. So look, I thought that was great.
Well, I mean, in retrospect, though, he's where he needs to be. I mean, I get it that you want to be offered by your hometown school, but he's where he needs to be, I do believe. And I'm not sure that Biletnikoff Award would have his name on it if he was playing at home.
I would say yes to that. I would be very surprised if he was doing the same things at South Carolina that he's doing at Tennessee. But anyway, let's take a quick break. When we come back, a look at high school football from around the state and beyond, or closer, not beyond. Anyway,
no, not beyond.
Not beyond. Yeah, stick around. We'll be right back after this.
This holiday season, the largest lantern event in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. After sunset, come see more than 1,000 Chinese lanterns. All new designs including mythical beasts, a fantastical North Pole village, even a dragon soaring over your head. Welcome back to Zoo Illumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor-trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor-trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bart Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor-trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
The high school football season is here, and nobody handles Friday nights better than Main Street Media. Here's Zach Womble with details.
That's the name of the game here at Main Street Media and Main Street Preps. Is, we've been doing this for a long time now, and I think you hit on it. We've got an army of reporters across all of Middle Tennessee. I think there's about 130 schools in the Middle Tennessee area, and we try to cover all of them. We cover about 11, 12 counties at this point. And those Friday night shows, it's we're gonna show that off. We're gonna showcase the talent that we have on the field with reporters across several mid-state games on the weekly basis. So whether you're in Williamson County, whether you're in Giles County or Murray County or Montgomery or Robertson or anywhere in between, we're gonna have you covered from 6 to 11.
Friday Night Live is presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, where fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Welcome back in. Main Street Sports Day presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. It is Prep Thursday, and we'll get to tons of prep talk here in just a few moments as we are looking at the Division I quarterfinals and Division II semifinals taking place this Friday night. Should be a lot of fun. And there are some great games outside of the mid-state, Mo, and we talked about a few of them earlier this year, or earlier this week, I'm sorry, with Heather Williams.
Mm-hmm.
One in particular is that Greenville-Anderson County game. And, man, I don't know if you've paid a whole lot of attention to Anderson County this year. I'm telling you, this has been a really good year for Anderson County, and every year it seems like they have to play as Elizabethton or Greenville, and they get knocked out. Well, last week they take out the Cyclones, Elizabethton 30-24,
right,
and beat them earlier in the year as well in overtime, 35-34. They've got wins over Powell, they've got wins over Science Hill, they've got wins. They've got a win over, again, Elizabethton twice. This is going to be a really good – this may be the first time in a while that either Elizabethton or Greenville will not represent the eastern side in Class 4A.
I think the one thing that you have to be concerned with if you're Anderson County, though, is that game is at Greenville, right?
No.
It's at Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's where it gets a little interesting.
I mean, Greenville is still Greenville, but yeah, I mean, if you're Anderson County, you've got everything going for you right here. I mean, again, you just beat Elizabethton last week, and you've got Greenville coming to your place, and you feel like you've been tested, like you said, given the folks that they have beaten this season. Maybe this is their year to break through. So that'll be a game in 4A that a lot of people will be keeping an eye on, obviously, just because, Greenville has put themselves in that position that not quite Maryville, Alcoa, but for the most part, as long as they're in it, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And so that'll be a game that a lot of people will be keeping an eye on, I think, across the state.
I want to see if I can find it. I've asked Justin to find it if he can, but have you seen Anderson County's chrome helmets?
No.
Dude, they're sick. I mean, because they're navy blue and silver.
Mm-hmm.
That's their colors, obviously, and they have the Texas Longhorn on the side of their helmet.
Yeah, they're the Mavericks. I'm surprised they're getting away with that, because I know Johnson County up in East Tennessee is also the Longhorns, and I think they got a cease and desist for using that logo.
What about Westview? Westview used it forever.
Westwood,
yeah. Sorry, not Westview.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You knew what I meant.
I knew exactly what you meant. Yeah. Yeah.
Westwood used it back in the day. Now I don't know if they still do or not, but I bet you the fact that they are not the Longhorns probably does not have the attention of Texas.
That could very well be. Yeah. But Westwood was, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
But I don't know. No, we couldn't find it. It's such
something up.
Yeah, but that's not what it looks like. It's the Oregon Chrome, but it's super cool. It's got it's mirrored, like it's really cool.
Wow.
But
okay.
Anyway,
I just play good, right?
Cool. I just thought the helmets were cool. Oak Ridge Powell. It seems like every time you look up, Oak Ridge is still playing football at this time of the year. And then again, Knoxville West, that Class 5A Eastern side is just Class 5A's playoffs. The quarterfinals, man, undefeated Daniel Boone against Knox West, who beat Alcoa and Maryville. Oak Ridge, Powell, those are, Powell's the defending state champion. Oak Ridge is a longtime power. Then you got Page, Nolensville, we just talked about, and then Springfield, Henry County, which was an overtime game earlier this year. You can't ask for a better quarterfinals matchups than this, can you?
No. And again, as we've talked over the last few years, Class 5A seems to be as wide open from one year to the next as ever. I would be interested to look and see how many of these quarterfinalists were in the quarterfinals last year. Obviously, Page was. I don't remember if Nolensville was or not, but Powell was. They're the defending state champs. But we've seen a lot of turnover from one year to the next in 5A, and
well, West got beat by Oak Ridge last year
in the quarters,
I believe. And that's 2020. I'm sorry. Let me go back to West got beat by Powell. Okay. Springfield and Henry County played. Page played Green Hill. And Powell and West on the eastern side.
Okay. Huh. All right.
So 3 of the 4 on our side of the bracket are back. Henry County won this matchup last year 23-0. But again, they played at Springfield in the regular season was an overtime matchup. So, yeah, you could not ask for better quarterfinal matchups in Class 5A than what you've got this year, because I think any of these teams are good enough
to win the whole thing
from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always think that in every classification like 6A where you've got, looks like it could be. Man, if you're Science Hill and you beat Maryville and you have to come all the way to Murfreesboro,
yeah,
that's not fun.
No,
it's not fun at all.
But you'll make that trip. Here's a question: if you're Science Hill and you do beat Maryville, you have to play at Oakland on the Friday after Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's brutal.
Do you come down Thursday night?
I think you'd almost have to.
That's not a short drive.
No. From Science Hill,
Johnson City to Murfreesboro.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at least, 4.5 hours probably?
Easily.
And then you lose
4 hours and 27 minutes. And you're losing an hour.
Well,
right? No.
You gain an hour.
No, you're gaining an hour. Yeah. Still,
jeez. It's still a long way, man. I just don't know. I couldn't do it.
286 miles on a bus.
You know when we say it's a long way for the outcome which you expect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And another game that's not in our pick'em that I want to talk about is Fayetteville-McKenzie. This was a quarterfinal matchup last year. It was at Fayetteville last year, and Fayetteville came out on top. McKenzie gets to host it this year, and they're looking for revenge at home. And this may be the game of the week across the state.
Both undefeated, right?
They are both undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
And looking mighty fine all the way to this point.
Yeah.
So,
Fayetteville's certainly going to have to stouten up as they head out west.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. Well, all right. Well, those are some of the games from across the state that we're looking forward to. And we've got 10 games from the mid-state that we need to get to, and we'll do that right after this break. We'll be right back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint with high school football pick'em coming your way. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
All right, welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. We've got 10 games in the Mid-State, and all of them are really good ball games. Why? Because it's the playoffs, baby. At this point, there are no gimmies. That being said, last week, Mo went 9-1. That's pretty darn good for no gimmies. I was 7-3. Mo on the year.
You were a little distracted last week, so it's okay.
Yeah, well, I was hoping to make some way, as I'm still sitting in last place, 4 games out of next to last against Blaine Keller, who went 9-1. I lost 2 games on Blaine, and Mo is 6 games up, 93-37 on the year. So here we go.
As Devontae Smith would say,
he knows a little something. A little something. Main Street Preps game of the week. You'll be there. It's Page at Nolensville.
Paul, Derrick, and I will be hanging out with a cast of thousands. Yeah. That game was 27-21 in overtime, Nolensville, during the regular season. And I did not have that score in mind when I picked my score, but I picked Nolensville to win 27-20. So, but I mean, I think it's going to be a close game. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a very high scoring game, but I think Nolensville certainly has the horses, and I'm getting some intel that, not surprisingly, in the state quarterfinals, but Page is a little beat up at some key positions, supposedly. So we'll see how that plays out.
We will. I also have Nolensville winning. I've got it 31-21, but I got the Knights coming out on top. In D2, Brentwood Academy and Baylor. It's a big game because, obviously this is the game that sends you to the state finals.
In D2, yeah, this is a semifinal matchup, and Brentwood Academy was the number 1 seed out of the West in Division II AAA, I believe, and hosting Baylor, which, again, when you get to this time of year, playing at home is huge because the alternative is typically not a short trip.
Yeah, it's rough in D2 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing playing away from home. It's another going across the state. So Brentwood comes in here 9-2, and their only 2 losses were to MBA in mid-September by 2 touchdowns, and a 50-49 loss to Eagles Landing Christian out of Georgia in OT in their opener. So they're riding a 5-game win streak into this Baylor matchup. And
well, conversely, Baylor's only losses are to Montgomery Bell Academy and Prince Avenue Christian out of Georgia. So there's that.
Yeah. BA's been throwing up some points in these last 5 games. 4 of them they've scored at least 35 in. So
so naturally you picked them to win 17-13.
Well, I just had a feeling.
I just thought that was fun.
Just had a feeling.
I love that. I love that you went there, because it's it's going to be cold. It probably is going to be a lot of low scoring football games tomorrow night, but
But yeah. Well, I don't think Baylor is necessarily Cornerstone Christian out of Ohio.
No, No, they're not.
So, and the one game that they did not score 35 plus was a 10-7 win at Ensworth. I'm thinking this one's going to be closer to Ensworth than it is to Cornerstone Christian.
Well, and here's the thing is Baylor also has scored less than 35 points just once this year. And that was a 31-27 win over McCallie.
Those two go at it, man, tooth and nail. It's blood when those two play.
Right.
I think, if there was a game outside of our area that I would, kind of put on a bucket list, maybe at some point, it would be a Baylor McCallie game. Just the atmosphere and the history between those two and that kind of thing. I think that would be a really cool matchup, if not Maryville Alcoa.
I think mine would probably still. I think Marion County's South Pitt would be on there.
I think I smell a top 5 though.
But yeah, so I've got Brentwood Academy winning 38-35. I figured that they're probably going to score some points.
Well,
no, I didn't look at their scores throughout the year,
and nor did I. But I think that they will probably have a few propane heaters on the sidelines too, so they'll be able to stay warm. So maybe.
Well, they only have one side of bleachers to heat up too. They might have some in the heat in the stands.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Beach at Cane Ridge. This is, this is going to be a good football game. At Cane Ridge, by the way.
At Cane Ridge.
You don't have to go to Shackle Island. That's a big deal.
And I feel like that may be the difference in this one.
Absolutely.
Because, again, Beach has had a phenomenal season to this point. I think Cane Ridge has as well. I think Cane Ridge is just a little bit more diverse offensively, and I think that's where the difference comes in this one. I think Beach is, traditionally physical smash mouth. And Chris, you and I have seen this play out. I think Beach's offense, and I think they throw the ball a little bit better now than they did when we saw Summit go up there a couple of years ago. But I'm not sure if Beach gets down that they have the ability to come back necessarily from a, maybe a double-digit deficit. And with that and with Cane Ridge at home, that's why I went with the Ravens in this one.
I went Cane Ridge as well. 27-21 is the score I picked. I think it's going to be one of those games. It's going to be a quintessential Beach quarterfinal game. Now, the last few I've seen have all been against Summit, but this is going to be a good one for sure. As you said, games that, depending on where you're having to play this one is important. Christ Presbyterian going to Chattanooga Christian.
I feel like Engel Martin and his coaching staff have his guys ready to play wherever they are. And that's not to say that other folks don't, but I just think that, with the schedule that these guys play over the course of the season, the competition that they see, it all kind of gets them ready for this time of year. And he's gotten it done too many times for me. I like CPA by a touchdown in this one.
Well, as someone who picked Chattanooga Christian to go to the state finals, I probably should have picked Chattanooga Christian, but I think you're right. I think Engel Martin, for whatever reason, I just feel like CPA is going to be ready to play. I think they get a 1-point win. I think it's, some last second, either make, the extra point makes a difference somehow, some way, and they escape with a win and get that rematch with Lipscomb Academy.
Yeah.
USJ, University School of Jackson, is at Friendship Christian. And this was, I'm surprised that it felt like everybody went Friendship Christian here, but perhaps it was some homer picks. I'm not sure.
I don't know that it was necessarily homer picks. I just feel like Friendship Christian has been so dominant all year long. They just beat the defending state champion DCA this past weekend. Second time they've beaten them. I think they beat them during the regular season as well. I just feel like and felt like from the start of the postseason that Friendship Christian really is the team to beat in D2A. And that's kind of why I went with them. They've been number one in the Associated Press poll most of the year. I mean, there's not been one during the playoffs, but I think the last half of the season for sure, they were in the number one spot the whole way. And they're undefeated. That 14-13 win last week over DCA was by far their closest game of the year, and that might be more an indication of DCA than a Friendship Christian, because Friendship won at 43-8 over Labor Day weekend. So, but they've just been annihilating folks, man.
Well, I don't know what the competition level is like, but I know that USJ beat Jackson Christian like an absolute drum earlier this year. And I've got Friendship Christian in this. I think it's close. I think it's probably, a field goal game, but I certainly would not be surprised to see USJ win. I think this is probably the state championship game, though. I think whoever wins this likely wins in the state finals over either Nashville Christian or Jackson Christian, and we'll get to that game here shortly. Mm-hmm. Springfield at Henry County. Again, Springfield lost this one and overtime at home earlier in the season to Henry County. We've been to Paris. We've seen this movie. We've seen it's a tough place to play, and boy, if you can get in there and get a win, you've done something.
You really have, and I think that just speaks to the level of respect that people have for this Henry County program statewide. It's not easy to go in there and get a win. I mean, it's such a tough trip to start with, and then again, it's a pretty dang good team once you get there. James Counts Jr. does a great job with that team, having worked under his dad up there for a long time, and they've built a tradition, man. And this time of year, they seem to know how to rise to the occasion. And as we spoke with Paul Derrick about the Nolensville Page game, you're talking about two teams that know a lot about each other. They play in the same region. They played twice last year, I believe. So they've seen each other. There's not going to be a whole lot of surprises in this one, but I think the difference is I don't know how you get from Springfield to Paris, but I can't imagine it being very easy. And so it takes a really special team, I think, to make that trip and come back happy. And I just don't think the Yellow Jackets are going to.
Well, I am going to say the Yellow Jackets will, in fact,
see that. Come home happy.
Find their way from
Paris back to Springfield. Huh?
From Springfield, and God knows how. However you get to Clarksville, you got to go to Clarksville and start, I think.
I would think so, from Springfield, yeah. And then just go across, yeah.
Figure it out from there. Just get to Clarksville and figure it out. But I've got Springfield 35-31 and another barn burner. I think it's going to be overtime. You'll see a field goal from Henry County and then a touchdown. Or a touchdown from, well, I guess it'd be 34-31 because they wouldn't kick the extra point.
Yeah. I like the way you're thinking, though.
I apologize.
I think it's going to be low scoring. I just think there's going to be a lot of blows traded, man. I think if you like to hear shoulder pads popping, I think this is going to be the place to be, man.
If you want to see some top-notch football, head on over to Nashville, where Montgomery Bell Academy hosting McCallie. Obviously, NBA got the win earlier this year over McCallie, and I think that was on the road.
I think it was.
So they get the blue
tornado.
Blue tornado, just one tornado.
One, singular.
You don't need more than one if it's blue.
I don't think you need more than one, period. I think one tornado is quite enough. Yeah.
But the Big Red taking on this is like the quintessential, like, stock photo, red football team versus blue football team. And I've got the red one in this one.
Yeah, I think the red one is pretty special. I think Marcel Reed is kind of on a mission, especially after losing to McCallie in the championship game last year. I think the Big Red is obviously earmarked these last couple of games, getting back to Chattanooga and getting it done against whoever they line up against once they get there. I just think they've really played great ball over the course of the season. Like you said, going to McCallie and winning, I think, was what really kind of stamped them as perhaps the favorite in D2 AAA. And so I don't necessarily see anything that changes that come tomorrow night. I've got NBA by 8.
As we said, if NBA is on the list, I'm picking them until they make me not pick them. So
yeah.
And if they lose this week, we won't be able to pick them next week.
Then you'll have to do something else. So
Jackson Christian at Nashville Christian. You've seen this Jackson Christian team
I've
twice.
seen this
once and a half.
Well, once and a half. Yeah. And let me tell you, the half was nothing like the once. I drank the Kool-Aid, man. And this Jackson Christian team has some dynamic offensive playmakers. And when I saw them a couple of weeks ago, it was the first start for who had been their number 2 quarterback, a sophomore who stepped in because the starter apparently had, I'm not sure what happened, but he's no longer with the team. But at any rate, again, they've got a couple of special playmakers, the running back Boyd and a receiver whose name escapes me at this time, but they can really make you look bad if you're not careful. But I feel like this Nashville Christian team has been tested and they've seen some things. And I think at home in particular, I think Nashville Christian gets it done.
The moment will be too big for the freshman, and he's had a great year. But I'm going to go Jackson Christian here, 28-21. Me and Emily Spears, the only two to pick Jackson Christian to win the game.
That ought to tell you something.
We'll see. We'll see. Blackman at Oakland. Pretty sure Oakland, obviously the favorite here. They've beaten Blackman already once this year. I'm going to go with the
and
Patriots.
Beat them pretty handily,
Yeah.
I do believe. I don't remember what that score was, but
yeah, and I don't think it's going to matter because this is Oakland all the way. I think.
I feel like the first game involved a running clock.
That's very possible.
53-18.
There you go.
So I mean, Blackman's got a lot of talent, but Oakland's Oakland. I've got the Patriots. I feel about the Patriots like you were saying about NBA.
Yeah.
And as long as they're playing, I'm picking them. So
there you go. And East Nashville, big week for the Eagles, but they've got to go back to region rival Smith County, where they fell in week 11,
15-14.
15-14. And so what's going to happen this week in our final game of the week?
Returning to the scene of the crime, and I feel like Jamal Stewart will have them on edge. I mean, from the moment they step off the bus and maybe even before. I think it's going to be a close ball game, but I think East Nashville gets it done.
I think it's going to be close as well. I've got them 23-21. I like Casey Patrick, though, 34-14. He thinks that Jamal is going to have them ready to go and they're going to run them out of the building. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think that's completely accurate. Yeah.
If you want to see the full picks for the entire staff, you can go to mainstreetpreps.com. It is on the homepage there. You can check out our picks as well as everybody else from around Main Street Preps and Main Street Media. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on this Prep Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow with college football pick'em. We'll have so much more to get to, a lot of Tennessee talk, and we're hoping to have a South Carolina voice to talk about the Gamecocks a little bit. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us again, 2:00 tomorrow. Until then, for Justin Kulik, I'm Chris Yao, Mo Patton in Franklin. Y'all have a great day.